In this week's broadcast, we bring you the latest news about congestion on the New Silk Road and the consequences. In the studio, we hear about the experience of Mike Liu, General Manager of CMC Logistics. We also have a direct link with Kazakhstan to hear more about the Middle Corridor. Welcome to RailFreight Live. Hello everyone, let's right away have a look at the news of this week. In the Netherlands, a critical report has been brought out by the ILT, which is the inspectorate that assesses, among others, infrastructure safety. The report is about Kaifu, the largest emplacement yard in the country. And according to ILT, safety at this yard is not in order. It has imposed penalty payments of hundreds of thousands of euros for ProRail, the infrastructure manager in the Netherlands. And these can be avoided if it carries out several safety measures. It is unlikely that this warning will be ignored. We had ProRail in the studio a few weeks back and heard that it already has in place a work plan to improve the situation. And DB Cargo this morning also had a positive note. It said, in addition to resolving bottlenecks in the short term, DB Cargo also sees that a solid foundation is now being laid for the longer term. It is very confident that improvements will be brought. In Ukraine, the first regular container train from China has arrived. On Monday, 6 July, the train originating from Wuhan in China was welcomed with a ceremony in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. It was celebrated by Ukrainian officials, and this shows that Ukraine is a viable partner for China. But it also shows that Ukraine is more than just a transit country for rail freight traffic between Europe and China. It is now a final destination too. It looks like the role of Ukraine is increasing a lot on the New Silk Road because more and more traffic is directed via Ukraine. And it has taken a while before the market was actually convinced about this because of political instability and infrastructure concerns. But if it's up to the country itself, it's ready to facilitate large volumes. And as we saw this week, it is also ready to accommodate regular train traffic. We have been talking about it for a few weeks now, the congestion at the border between China and Kazakhstan. And in the studio with me is Mike Liu, General Manager of CMC Logistics.
Hello.
Hello, welcome Mike.
Yep.
You're working for an international firm, a Chinese and Taiwanese owned company established in the Netherlands.
Yes.
And you're focusing on LCL shipment, less than container load?
Yes, that's our key focus.
Okay. Well, I can imagine you have been affected by the congestion on the border. Can you tell us a little bit on the effect of your
Yes,
on your business?
actually we see the delay of departure since the end of May or beginning of June this year. And in the beginning of 1-2 weeks, the delay is about 2 to 7 days. And then starting from the second half of June, the delay sometimes is 2 weeks. So that makes the transit time of rail mode even longer than ocean freight. So we got a lot of complaints from customers.
Okay, so did also a lot of people move back to sea freight or move to sea freight?
No, they are just waiting.
Waiting, yeah. Okay. And is this still the case at the moment, or is there any improvement?
Yeah, there are some reactions from China's side. So the situation is getting better, but we still see the delays recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the congestion at the border, is that getting better, you said?
Yes, it's getting better.
So it takes a while before that displays on the actual traffic itself?
Yes, they have some policies to solve the problem. But we still need some time. But we see the situation can be better in the second half of July.
Okay. And what kind of policies have they issued?
Well, firstly, they reduced the train departure from each train station. There are two kinds of train. One is the regular train report to the central government and approved by the central government. But because of the demand increased a lot, so some rail companies increase the train departures, and they now turn down such kind of train.
Okay.
Yeah, so that caused the space decrease sharply in the market. However, that also decreased the transloading capacity at the border. So it's getting better now.
Yeah. So basically, only the trains that were already on the schedule and on the timetable are now being run, and
Yes.
other trains that are either increased services or test shipments, they have to wait.
Yes.
Yeah.
For some customers, they want to have like a black train service.
What is that?
Black train service. That's for example, they have so many containers, and they want to have their dedicated train.
Yeah.
Only for their cargo.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. So this is the border crossing that we're talking about is between Alushanko and Khorgos.
Yes.
That is the main border crossing on the New Silk Road. There are two other ones, one at Manzhouli and one at Erenhat.
Mm-hmm.
And according to some figures we saw, the border crossing is handling around 50% of all the traffic, but you mentioned that this may even be more?
Yes, according to our internal investigation, since 2018, 2019 until now, Alushanko border becomes the biggest border for China trains, and we think the percentage of the trains is about 70%.
Wow, okay, that's a lot. And then on top of that is the increase of traffic this year.
Yes.
Yes. We saw some numbers, I don't know if they're correct because always there are a lot of different numbers around, but we saw a 41% increase of export and a 50% increase of import. Is that something you recognize?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. We see the numbers keep going up since pandemic.
Yeah. And is that the reason you think for the congestion at the border, or are there other factors?
There are two factors cause such congestion at the border. Mm-hmm. The first thing is the unbalanced cargo volume between eastbound and westbound business. So that means the wagon which carries the container come to Europe, but difficult to go back to China. So the shortage of wagon caused the delay. That's the first thing. The second thing is because the booming of rail business really over the transloading capacity at the border. So two factors influence each other, so makes the things even worse.
Yeah, but that imbalance was always a concern, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, and
Yeah.
how are companies trying to solve that?
Well, it's really difficult. So to deal with such a situation, the first thing is that they really need to improve the infrastructure and the hardware. However, it takes time. So we see some rail companies start to push the business of eastbound service harder than before because they need to bring more wagons back to China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there also, for example, price incentives or discounts?
Yes, that's true. They use a lower price to attract more business in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you as a forwarder, does that make it easier for you to put volumes on board in the eastbound direction, or eastbound?
Yeah, I would say in general, the imbalance situation is not only in rail business. Okay. Ocean freight, air freight is always the same. So we try to get more business from other transport mode, switch to rail mode,
Right.
only by pricing. Yeah, that's the current policy and current strategy.
Yeah.
We foresee more and more customers will start to step in this business.
Yeah, but is it to whom is it up to increase or to decrease these prices? Is that up to the Chinese government or up to you as a forwarder and other parties involved?
Well, most of the decisions are made by rail companies itself, and we just follow the cost structure announced by a rail company. But we know, of course, they deal with the central government.
Yeah. There was also, you already mentioned it actually, the fact that only regular trains can pass. And I think there is a lot of traffic that is not regular. Mm-hmm. How does that affect your business, the fact that these irregular trains cannot run at the moment?
Yeah, to freight forwarders or to the client's level, we sometimes don't know the train we book. It's regular train or it's additional train. It's between the level of central government and rail company. Mm-hmm. So we just book the train space.
Right.
However, those trains suddenly gone. So that caused the space reduce a lot, and For example, sometimes we see at one station they have daily departure from the station to Europe. Now they may only have like 2 trains a week. So we don't know why. That's because the train numbers, part of them are additional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that creates a non-accurate idea about the market? This high number of irregular trains?
No, most of the situation is still regular trains.
Okay.
Okay, so it's still a big portion of that. Yeah.
And are you then able, for example, if you cannot have a container on a train that was irregular, are you then able to place it on another regular train, or is the space that limited that you have to say no?
Yeah, the thing is that the rail companies will announce their train schedules by the end of the month for the next month. So we see the train schedules and then we book the train schedules. So we just see the schedule is not that much like before.
All right, okay, so it is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. We also understand that among all cargo types, LCL shipment, and that is a less than container load shipment, is very time sensitive, and this is one of your specializations. So how does this congestion influence that industry?
Actually, the delay of congestion affect everything, all cargo types, including FCO and LCO. So the effect is the same. However, the consequences of the delay cause the space more difficult. So I would say to find a space of full container, of course, it's more difficult than find a space of 1-2 pallets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for LCO, most of the key consolidators in China, they always reserve a certain quantity of containers with rail companies. So for LCO cargoes, I would say it's more safe than FCO business.
Okay, and what kind of products are those?
It's general types, everything like e-commerce business, parcels, machines, everything actually.
Yeah, and are there certain regions that are coming from more than other regions in China?
No, it's actually we receive the bookings from everywhere in China. So,
yeah. Okay. What could you do to ease the influence of delay?
It's really difficult. It's a good question. From our level, I would say people need to be prepared. Especially China government, they just announced a new system, so the documentation need to be accurate.
Yeah.
So the documentation preparation is always helping the situation. However, I won't say palletizing of the cargo will help too much because it only takes like a half day to complete the palletizing.
Okay.
So at this moment, we still need to see how it goes, but we foresee the situation can be better. Yeah. So we don't think there's a very good solution for this.
No.
No.
But the fact is that congestion keeps on coming back. It's not a one-time thing. It keeps on coming back. Is there some response? Yes, some response that you always have that when you know that, okay, it's congestion time, now we're going to do this, this is the mode of action?
Yeah, good question. From previous record, we see the congestion always happen before the European people start to take the summer holiday.
Okay.
Okay, and then during the summer holiday season here, it's peaceful. And then after the summer holiday, we sometimes see the congestion happen again. So apparently it is because of the demand. But this year, the congestion is different. It's not caused by the holiday season. It's just like I said, after the pandemic, the business volume increased too much, and it's already over the capacity.
Yeah.
So I would say now they are doing something to reduce the train numbers. So everybody need to wait. So actually, everybody was waiting since March. So we see the space situation is always difficult since March until now. But now the situation is even worse.
Yeah. So the congestion is also worse than usual?
Yes.
Yeah. And what is the usual pattern? You say before the summer holidays and after summer holidays. Are there other peaks in the year?
Before Chinese New Year, we see another peak.
That is in February?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
And Christmas time?
Normally, people who want to prepare for the stock in Europe, they start to send out cargoes earlier. So that's after summer holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet then, I would think that if this is happening every year, then shippers and customers and maybe also you should know that this is going to happen, so plan in advance. Is that something that's happening or is it too unexpected?
It's really difficult to predict the situation, especially this year. We don't know what's going to happen in the second half of the year. We only know the space supply decrease in the second half of the year. But since you say we receive the bookings from customers, so everybody are fighting for the space. However, I know the infrastructure improvement is going on. So that means the transloading capacity can increase to another level as long as they complete the construction.
Yeah. It's actually a little bit of good news as well, because it means it's going very well with the New Silk Road.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even after the things that happened this year.
Yeah. We don't feel this is 100% a bad thing.
Yeah.
We will think this is a good sign because by that pushed the central government in China ahead to improve the infrastructure construction even harder than before.
Yeah.
So we know it's growing, and we know the China rail business is still in an early stage. It's not matured yet.
Yeah.
However, the construction is going on, and now people see the situation. They know they need to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe around same time this year, around the same time next year, the situation will be better.
We hope so.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank you very much for joining us and sharing your insights. And hopefully we'll talk to you again.
Thank you.
We're moving on to another part of the New Silk Road, which is the Middle Corridor. And the Middle Corridor is an alternative route from Europe and China, between Europe and China. And it goes from Kazakhstan to Europe via the Caspian Sea, where cargo is loaded from the train onto vessels, and then in the port of Baku in Azerbaijan, it's reloaded onto trains. And then it has several options. It has an option of going through the Black Sea with another vessel, or it can actually make it on the train entirely to Europe via Turkey or Ukraine. Now, we would like to discuss this middle corridor and the current situation, and for that we have invited Rahmatullah Kuday-Bergenov from the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route. Welcome. And we also have Laila Batirbekova, also from the same organization, and she is there to help with the translation and sometimes take over some points. Welcome to both of you. You are located in Kazakhstan, and you will tell us a little bit more about the Middle Corridor first of all, before we ask some questions. We have a presentation lined up for you. You have made it yourself, of course. So I would like to give you the chance to go through some of the slides. Please go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
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 We can hear
Dear
you.
ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you on behalf of the International Association Trans-Caspian International Transport Route, and thanks for the opportunity to present the possibilities of our route. For further speech, I would like to give the floor to my deputy, Mrs. Leila.
Yes, hello to everybody. We can start directly from the slides, if you don't mind, and then, yeah, it's you see it, yeah, already, okay, because it's not on my screen. So first of all, so many of you, of course, knows and heard a lot about Middle Corridor or TITR, Trans-Caspian International Transport Route, which is one of the important also routes at the whole Eurasian transportation system. And for those who don't know or not know, but not that much, I would touch a bit of history. So the first impulse of creation of the association was a coordination committee. And later on, it was transformed to the International Association with a headquarters in Astana. So the route is multimodal. As it is well seen from its name, it is Trans-Caspian, means all the cargo which are passing Caspian Sea, namely in between Azerbaijani and Kazakhstan ports. So it's on one hand, we talk about the cargo in between China and Europe. On the other hand, it's the cargo from Kazakhstan and the other Central Asian countries with EU countries. So here's the information about logistic infrastructure, which we have along the route. I would not stay here for long. You can see it. So next slide, please. The founders and the regular members of the association, it is railway and sea companies from 3 countries, who started the project of its launching. It's Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Kazakhstan. After next 3 years, in addition to them, they were joining to the association both state and public companies private companies, from Poland, China, Turkey, Ukraine, and Romania. So at the moment, it is 21 companies. And as a whole, association gives a strong platform for negotiating, for creation of basic tariffs for the route as by principle of one window, which means for the client, it's not like different many countries on the road, but just one whole tariff. And we are very flexible. We are ready to talk about different projects, estimate them, and try to find a good compromise in between the freight owner and the shippers of TITR. So it is consortium at the moment, which is also 3 countries do at the moment this work, but we've already received another task from our general meeting, from the board members of the association, and we will create a newly joint venture. So it will be some kind of another scheme later on. Next slide, please. So first of all, the first half of the year results, I would touch a bit, of course, as absolutely all countries and companies and businesses. We felt the influence of this COVID-19, but we probably a bit more lucky because we coordinated as within association and also moved very good in our digitalization projects. And in May of 2020, we've first time hold the working group online with our members. So what we have, we in the plus of transit cargo, if we talk about Kazakhstan plus Caspian Sea, means Central Asian and China countries and EU, it is 3.2 thousand TEU, or plus 17% in comparison to the previous year. But historically, it's the export cargo flow from Kazakhstan, which goes to EU, to Turkey, and of course, at the moment, the main part of Middle Corridor transportation, it is export cargo from Kazakhstan. So for the period from January to June, it is 464,000 tons, which is also in a plus on 21% to the previous year. So the share of Kazakhstani export, to be clear, it is 252,000 tons, which is also an increase of 34%. And what we transport at the moment, so it is aluminum, it's ferrosilicon, chemicals, classical grains, mainly wheat and lentil and different. Of course, we know that the competition in between routes is big, but we are happy that the technologies, all and any technologies everywhere, always just improving and became cheaper and cheaper. And we also, if I will have enough time to continue about technology, I will continue. Next slide, please. So what we have on the new Silk Road direction at the moment, we, not the first time, cooperate with the platforms of Liaoning and Xi'an in China. And since 2018, it was more significant increase of cargo flow on different TITR directions, as very well known, thanks to RailFreight as well here, about the publications on this thematic in direction of Turkey and further to Prague, as it's well known in 2019. It was test train with participation of rail cargo in this project. And currently in this year, it was already 3 trains on Turkey. And in July, we expect additionally 2 trains. And since August, on the regular basis, it will, we hope, at least we hope, it will be once a week on this direction, and around 4 or 5 trains in a month to Azerbaijan and Georgia, not going further. Tomato paste is one of our basic cargoes as well. And since till the end of this year, we expect 20-25 trains roughly. We also continue work on the containerization of cargo, because traditionally on the whole gauge 15-20, it was used classical wagons, not containers. And we talk with Kazakhstani big producers like Kazakhmys, Kaztsink, minerals, different minerals for exporting, which are going to West from our country to use it. As well, we not forget about Turkey, Italy, Spain, Morocco, namely, I'm talking about Southern European part, which is more logical and closer to our route. And we've had a meeting in Morocco as well. We're starting to connect with African countries. In the future, we hope it will develop. With Uzbekistan, our neighboring, yes, okay, thank you. Yeah. I can talk a lot about.
Of course, we can see quite clearly now what you transport and on which routes. Can you also put it in a broader perspective to see what is the role exactly of the middle corridor in total traffic between China and Europe?
Who will answer? Какую роль занимает маршрут вообще в транспортировке? Maybe I will sit closer to Rahmetullah and we will be together now.
Go ahead.
Я буду говорить на русском.
So we can see the map in your office too. Yes. Hello. So my question is basically, we can see that there is quite an increase of traffic on the middle corridor, but if we place it in a broader perspective to see which role or which share is the middle corridor taking in total traffic between China and Europe, is that role increasing?
Можно мы его не будем акцентировать внимание на Китае?
We prefer not to concentrate and to take our share in between EU and China connection only.
Потому что, во-первых,
first of all,
Казахстан и Центральная Азия — это большие экспортные государства.
Kazakhstan and Central Asia are a big trade partners itself.
Порядка 130 миллионов тонн грузов экспортируется.
About 30 million tons of cargo is exporting to EU from these countries,
включая 100 миллионов из Казахстана.
including 100 out of 130. 130 is the whole figure, 130 million tons of cargo from this region. and 100 million tons of cargo, which is not in comparison with China-EU trade, is only Kazakhstani cargo.
И второе, это все-таки
And second,
это геополитическое расположение тех или иных государств.
Geopolitical position. So if we would talk only about Kazakhstan, it plays the role in different routes, in number of routes.
Здесь мы включаем, конечно же, Китай.
Here we talk about China.
То есть страны Южной Европы, Восточной Европы сама роль коридора такова, что страны Южной Европы.
So the rule of the corridor is so that like we anywhere will be somewhere on your road, on the road.
Географически тяготеют к миду коридоров.
Everything is nearly to the middle corridor, or if not to the middle corridor, to Kazakhstan as transit country.
Ну и такая большая страна, как Турция.
Yeah, and Turkey is another important direction.
So Kazakhstan as itself is a destination and an origin country. What about Uzbekistan? Because Uzbekistan is also growing in importance, I noticed lately. What role do you play and what role does the middle corridor play in Uzbekistan?
Узбекистан использует middle corridor
Uzbekistan use middle corridor as well.
Экспорте своих грузов
while
на мировые
exporting
рынки.
their goods to the world markets.
Конечно же, она использует не только казахстанские порты.
For sure, it's not only Kazakhstani ports. I mean, it's not only via Kazakhstan to Azerbaijan through Caspian Sea.
Она использует и туркменский порт
Also,
Туркменбаши.
they very well using Turkmenbashi port of Turkmenistan,
Порты Черного моря в
ports of
России,
the Black Sea from Russian side,
Балтийских порты на Балтике.
Baltic Sea ports as well. So they use also these lines to sell their goods.
И здесь возникает именно конкурентоспособность middle corridor.
And this pushes all the players and makes the competition in all the corridors.
Kind
Вот
of
здесь
cooperation
мы
between
уже
the-
встречаемся с точки зрения
Look
технологий
more
перевоза.
from technology. We compete from technology side, from speedness
И, конечно же, тарифных условий.
and tariffs. Sorry?
Yes, if you look at the cooperation between these ports, because there's the Caspian Sea, and then there is the port of Aktau, there is the Turkmenbashi port, there is the Russian ports. Is there a competition among these ports, or do you cooperate to increase the volumes via the Caspian Sea?
Yes.
Однозначно.
Yes, of course it exists.
Однозначно.
It's a competition for cargo flow.
Здесь уже возникают вопросы сплоченности,
Here is more
скоординированности.
questions of negotiation and good ethics and manner, we would say, and good play, fair play of
Гибкости,
of this.
флексибильности. Да?
And flexibility and technology and so that what we've touched in the presentation. All technologies are improving all the time, and this competition leads finally to the economy, to the customers at the end.
Okay.
Ну
So-
и тех договоренностей, которые существуют между участниками перевоза.
Also, the internal contracts and negotiations in between of different players at the Caspian Sea.
Okay, so I would like to thank you very much. We have to move on to the end of the show, but it's good to see that there's a lot of investments going on in the middle corridor, and I think we will hear a lot more from the middle corridor. Thank you now for joining us. Mike,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. This was just a very short glimpse of the middle corridor. Is that something you also look at when you serve the options for your customers?
Yeah, actually, we are doing a business in the Netherlands and also in the Western Europe. Middle corridor is not a key focus for the customers here. But if any customers are interested in this business mode, we will see how it goes first and then promote it to our customer here.
Yeah, because it seems like the focus is now a little bit more on the Central Asian region and trade with Europe and...
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, it's interesting enough to follow up.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, we've come to an end of the RailFreight live show of today. If you like us, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow the RailFreight live website, where you can always follow this show as well. I would like to thank you all very much for watching, and see you next week.